Hey everybody, it's South Jersey Beer Scene Live here tonight at Slack Tide Brewing Company in downtown. We're in Clermont, New Jersey.
Clermont, New Jersey, the
Clermont,
booming
New
metropolis of.
It is a metropolis. They have a nice big brewery here. So it's John Kashu here with Tom Renzulli as always. And that's for you, Dan Hoover, the smile and the wink. And we have one of the co-owners of Slack Tide Brewing Company here. It's Jason Campbell.
Hey guys, how are you?
We're doing good. So Jason is officially the most guested guy on the podcast, video, interwebs of all time now, and he just goes one ahead of Rob Callahan by last count. Talking about Brewing Company. So I'm sure my phone will be ringing at any moment. So we're here to talk about a couple things. As you guys know, Slack Tide has really grown by leaps and bounds. You know, me and Tom were some of the first people through these doors all those many years ago. It seems like yesterday, but were we working on 4 years now?
Over 4.
We're over 4. We're actually in our 5th year, technically speaking. We just had our 4-year anniversary back in January. So.
And these guys are really, things have really gone much faster. I can remember a time when I would come in here and take a crowler and go home and go, when are you guys going to have cans? When are you going to have cans? Well, guys, guess what? They have cans.
We have cans, lots of them.
Lots of cans, and they're out and about. And you're in how many liquor stores you in now?
Liquor stores and draft together, our total portfolio is about 180 accounts right now. So we're growing pretty quick. So.
In New Jersey, and I guess like in the 295 corridor south and over to the island.
Yeah,
way?
basically Lakewood. If you drew a line from Lakewood to Lakewood to like Mount Holly south, that would basically be our distro footprint at the moment.
So you know, we want you to come down here, visit Cape May County, and come to the brewery. But if you can't get down here, start asking your local liquor stores to call Slack Tide and bring some of their award-winning beers in there.
That's right. We got another one recently.
Got another award. And what was this one for? Can't keep track of them, by the way.
Oh, I know which one it is.
We got a bronze medal for the beer that Tom's drinking over here, our Reef 11 Rye IPA at the Best of Craft Beer Awards. It's the second time we actually medaled at that competition. We're pretty excited about it, and it's a really good beer. It's a seasonal beer for us. It's only out, late fall, early winter, and then it usually ends up running out around now. So it'll be gone soon. So if you want to try some, come on in and get it.
That's why I always get it the last few times I've been here, because I know it's going to be gone soon.
Yeah, and I'm a rye bourbon guy, and as well as beer, of course. You can tell by how heavy I am. But that is like reminiscent. That rye taste in that is it's so balanced and good all the way through.
Yep.
I remember when you guys first had that. I mean, it was something different. You don't see a lot of rye, type. You see them out, but you don't see them that's traditional like that. And they did a really good job with it.
It's done well.
Also,
thank you guys. Thank you very much.
And also, the one you're looking at right here, Live Well, I guess that's your newest can release.
Yeah, that just came out this past Friday. That's American Indian Pale Ale. It's not technically in New England, so we don't call it that. But Sean Carge, that's what John's drinking. Sean Carge, our assistant brewer, developed this recipe for a homebrew competition a few years back, and he won the competition. So we decided to go ahead and put it in our beer line, and it sells really well. It's a really got a lot of tropical notes. It's a really good, hazy IPA.
It's really, really nice. And if I remember right, I think Sean had his baby right around the same time.
He did.
He couldn't even come here for the unveiling of it. He
did. He's happy now, though. He takes it home by the 4-pack, but it's all good at this point.
That's got to be kind of cool to see your beer. I mean, I've talked to you guys about this. How cool is it? It's cool for me because, we watch you guys grow, but how cool is it for you to go into a liquor store? Nobody knows who you are. Mm-hmm. Well, people do know who you are, kind of. But to go in there and just randomly see your beer on the shelf.
It's gratifying, but it's also humbling at the same time. It's like, you're ecstatic that people like it and there's a demand for it and all that stuff. But at the same time, you don't want to take your eye off the ball. We're always trying to make sure that we perfect our beers as best we can and get them into the right markets. But it is a weird feeling when you walk into the grocery store, you walk into the Acme or wherever you buy your beer from, and I'm like, oh, there's Slack Tide. It is a little bit weird, but it's a good weird.
You see yours, but you also got to look at the other ones around you and see what they're doing.
Absolutely.
One of the things, like Tom travels quite a bit, and I get out of the house every once in a while. It's cool, like if you're out like in Walmart and you see somebody wearing like a Slack Tide shirt, or and you're like, they're my bro. You know what I mean?
I saw a guy wearing a Slack Tide shirt at the Nashville Zoo.
Yeah,
and I had the hat on.
That's pretty cool.
My father had a friend of his who's down in Key West on vacation right now. Text him a picture today of a guy at Irish Kelly's or whatever it is down there, and he's got a Slack Tide shirt on. And my dad goes, "Do you know this guy?" I'm like, "I've seen him before." So I mean, it's pretty cool.
And you guys are, you've gone through a ton of expansion. I remember, Tom, our first article that we wrote for the website was a beer pairing that Tom did, where he made food and you guys paired beers with them. And we talked about at that time how you guys started with that half-barrel tippy dump.
Yep. It wasn't even 27 gallons.
27
It wasn't even a
gallons.
half barrel, yeah.
And Teg and Jason were here all hours of the day and night brewing and getting beer out to everybody. And to see, you guys can't see it, there's a 20-barrel fermenter back there.
20-barrel bright tank. This is our production
Our bright
area
tank
behind
and-
us. So our packaging area, behind us. It's basically a 20-barrel bright. Some of our barrel aging stuff's back there. We also have our canning line behind us. And then off to John's side of the camera is our production facility, which is behind the wall over there. We have a 10-barrel brew house now with 120 barrels of fermentation capacity. So we went from 27 gallons to 10 barrels in a little
pretty-
under 4 years.
In a pretty short amount of time. And, for the first couple of years, I would pass Jason on Route 55 going to work in the morning. Then he'd be back here at the tap room and working all those times. And your wives and the whole family were here and a lot of help. And now to see how much you guys are growing, it's really cool. And speaking of which, now you guys are doing some construction here. So
That's right. We're over the next 2 weeks, we're actually going to be renovating and expanding our tasting room. We'll still be open, but we're going to have a small bar with only about 8 taps on it in our overflow space. We're actually adding 6 more taps, so we're going to go from 12 taps to 18 taps. And we hope to have all that work completed by early March and be back open before St. Patrick's Day, well before St. Patrick's Day.
So a little renovation coming here, and the place is it's pretty much the same as when we started coming here, but just the amount of the capacity and the extra space you have here, it's pretty amazing. One of the other reasons we're here to talk to you tonight is that our friend Andrew Baird, who's right off camera, is going to come in here real quick. We're going to talk about the Cape May beer dinners. Andrew, why don't you jump in over here for a second here? And Tom's just going to be out of the picture for a minute. He's our eye candy, so I know we got to bring him back soon.
Yeah, I'm not as good looking as Tom, so we got to hurry up, get the man back.
This is
on
Andrew
camera.
Baird. He's a digital marketing manager at Cape May Lewes Ferry for Delaware River Port Authority or
Delaware
Bay
River
Authority?
and Bay Authority.
And Bay Authority. And they have a series of beer dinners, and they're having 3 this year, along with some wine dinners and some other things down at the ferry. And I don't know, for those of you who don't know, the ferry is just more than a place where you get on the boat to go to the outlets in Delaware. It's a thriving little community of things to do. There is, all throughout the summer, there's a ton of events. And this is one of the things they do in the winter are these perfectly paired beer dinners. Tom just had the pleasure of attending the one with Gusto Brewery with Zach and Dan and Adriana, and it was amazing. And the second guest, which is happening on February 28th,
February 28th.
is Slack Tide. And Sean and Andrew put together a pretty good thing. Chef Sean.
Yeah. Sean is he's actually our superintendent of food and beverage, but he's also a really good chef. And as Tom can attest to from our dinner with the Gusto crew, he threw down on that menu. And what we did was take sort of Asian street food and turn that into a sit-down dinner and pair that with Gusto beers. And it turned out, I mean, you can speak to that.
amazing.
It turned out pretty amazing.
Yep. There was things that I would never have eaten
Yeah.
and probably won't again because it was, so rare and it was so delicious. It paired well with everything. I can't wait for this one.
We get and Jason, we've been to your beer dinner at the ferry before, and they do a really, really nice job. This newly renovated sunset room, beautiful, overlooks the bay. It's just a really, really nice room. But we go to a lot of beer dinners. We get asked to do a lot of stuff. It's one of the perks of doing this. And the menus that you guys have put together are challenging for both a foodie and for a beer guy like us, and Tom's a food guy too, and Jason's a food guy, to go in there and see how beer pairs with these foods that you just can't, that are really well thought out. So you're having a Spanish themed menu this time.
Yeah, and this one's really cool. I'm glad you brought up the idea of pairing it with beer, because that's really what we're going for. Is not just one element; it's putting both of those elements together and making it actually work and tell a story, which is pretty cool. And similar to what we did with the Gusto dinner, which was take Asian street food and turn it into a sit-down experience, we're taking Spanish street food and turning that into a sit-down experience. A lot of it comes from Sean, who's a lucky guy who takes a lot of vacations. But his last vacation, he and his wife went to Spain and kind of did a tour around the country. A lot of the food from here is from the Basque region in Spain. Some of it's from kind of Barcelona, but it's all like tapas style food, right? So taking that, turning it into a sit-down experience. And some of the stuff on here is, if you don't know it, it's very approachable, but challenging at the same time. And if it's based on what he did with the last menu, this is going to be out of this world. I mean, the flavors are going to be amazing, and pairing it with Slack Tide beers is just going to take it over the top.
Jason, as somebody that's a brewer, that's somebody that makes beer, how do you guys approach doing these pairings with the chef? How do you guys get involved with that?
Well, it's two-part process. Basically, when the menu comes out, by the way, the menu looks amazing.
We're going to go hit some of the highlights of that.
I can't wait for this dinner, but we basically sit down and we try to figure out, well, okay, we know what the flavor profile of these beers is. How would it complement the dish? And we have a guy who works for us, Paul Schulte, who's also a big-time foodie, and he and I kind of sit down sometimes, and we'll sit down and we'll hash out what we think, what I think the flavor profile is in the beer compared to the food, and what he thinks it is compared to the food, and we usually come up with a pretty good pairing. I mean, it's a little bit easier with Spanish food because it's something I'm somewhat familiar with, but it works out really well. So we try to find complementary hop, if there's notes of the hops or complementary flavors of the hops that would pair with the meal. So for example, one of the things we're doing for this dinner is the Tuxtlan steak, and which has a port wine reduction. So we're pairing that with our manatee milk stout because it has chocolate notes and things like that. It'll help complement the port, but it also goes well with beef. You don't want something necessarily like an IPA to go with that because the hops will overpower the reduction and all the other stuff. So there's little ways you can make it work, but it ends up being a fun exercise in the end, to be honest.
And for somebody like me who enjoys, I really like the science behind this kind of stuff, to be able to look at the menu and see how it's kind of like Chopped. I think we talked about this before. It's got these ingredients that he puts together, and it comes up with something that's totally not what you expect it to be. Then you have the added element of pairing the correct beer with it. And I'm looking at some of the things. So you have an appetizer, of course, when you come in, and you're going to be pairing that with Schoolie, the American Pale Ale, or what do we call that?
I think the Schoolie's getting paired with the gazpacho.
I'm sorry, for the opening?
I believe it's actually going to be Osprey for the opening.
Osprey's going to be the welcoming beer, and there's a marinated olive and queso manchego, some chorizo, some paella. I mean, a little mixture of
and the reason for that is, the chorizo's a really rich, sausage, and the Osprey kind of helps go with that, and it goes well with marinated olives, all that kind of stuff. So, each one of the dishes brings out some sort of flavor profile or some sort of note that we can attach a beer to, so to speak.
Second course is going to be a gazpacho. It's served warm, which is, I guess, the Spanish way Spanish style. And vine tomatoes, roasted red pepper, croutons, olive oil, cucumber relish, and that is going to be paired with the Schoolie Pale Ale.
Correct.
There's a pan-seared scallop. That's your next course, and we're pairing that with
the Belle Buoy, which Belle Buoy is a great beer to pair with seafood. It's got a unique flavor. It's very approachable beer. It's light, so it doesn't overpower the seafood, and it pairs really well. One of the great things you can do with Belle Buoy is steam mussels in it and stuff like. It's very good with seafood.
And side note on Belle Buoy, that's the thing that kind of put you guys on the map. When you first opened, I mean, you guys won an award for Belle Buoy, and it was an Inquirer filled out with Craig Laban has a contest every year, and they won for that. And here you guys were this little tiny brewery, and you're next to these, specifically a guy that's won 22 world beer medals.
That's true.
Sending people over to try this to see if it's all right, and they're going, yeah, it's good. It's really good. I'll never forget that story with you guys. It was Bob. Bob is one of the
Bob Barrar,
Bob Barrar from 2SP, one of the most renowned brewers in the country. And to get that kind of validation right there was kind of cool.
It was pretty amazing. I mean, we had no delusions of grandeur that this beer was going to do anything, and we get a phone call. Hey, you guys won Best New Beer. Oh, cool. It's like awesome. So it was pretty cool. And then it actually won again at another contest we just entered about 2 or 3 months ago, the Great International Beer, Cider, and Mead competition. It took a silver at that. So it's a really good beer, very approachable, one of our best sellers. So.
Yeah, and it's almost like one of your pseudo flagship beers, I would say.
It is a flagship. It definitely is a flagship.
It's one of the ones that we always pick up. Just had a barrel aged version. Do you still have more of that here?
We do. We have some of our barrel aged. We actually barrel aged it in Pinot de Charente, which is similar to cognac. We only barrel aged it for about 3 months, but it still has a nice sort of fortified wine character to it. It's very good. We've just sort of launched our barrel age program recently. We have there's some barrels behind us. You may not be able to see them, but we have a couple of beers that won't be ready for a year. So we'll see what happens.
No, that's Tom.
Tom's
not the barrel.
blocking it, but it's back there.
Then there's the Tux. I'm having trouble saying that. So how do we say that, Andrew?
So if I had, I'm not, Grant, this is, don't take this for gospel, but I think it's Chouleton.
Well, that's pretty good.
Wow, that sounds fancy.
Hey, man. If that's not right, don't blame me.
And that's the steak we talked about earlier. And they're finishing up, and this is what everybody's talking. A lot of people are talking about this. The churros.
Churros are pretty good, man.
Churros are pretty good, and that's being paired with
The Haywire Twist.
And this will probably be your last chance to get this Haywire Twist this year, I'd imagine.
That specific version, yes. This is our fall version, which is our regular Haywire Twist sour ale flavored with plums, currants, and cranberries. So it's a really refreshing beer, and it will go well with the sweetness of the churro because it has a little tartness to it, and it'll definitely be a good one.
That's the course I'm really interested in because you wouldn't think
No,
sour with
I wasn't thinking that either, but it makes complete
it does
sense.
make sense.
So getting back to the ferry a little bit, Andrew. So you guys are, we talked about this on the last couple times we've been on, and we all sat here last week and we're talking about this. The ferry has so many events down there. We're kind of getting through the winter here in South Jersey, kind of, some pop-ups. These beer dinners are nice. You'll have another one in March with Cape May Brewing Company.
Yep, at the end, last Friday in March, I believe it was the 27th, with Cape May Brewing Company, yep.
And but then they start gearing up for the summer season, and you guys have a lot of things going on. A concert series.
Yeah, so once July hits, once we get into full swing, we do a concert series every Wednesday. It's free to the public, and we bring in some kind of regional touring bands. We've got a bunch of really great acts. We start with the Amish Outlaws, which if you don't know who they are, look them up.
Awesome.
They're
phenomenal.
amazing.
They're really good.
And it's great because it's just a great chance to come down, hang out. Everything's on the lawn at the terminal, so it's a great view, great place to be. Hear some music and hang out.
You have a little bar area down there, on the rocks.
Yep, on the rocks. We got an outside bar, so you come hang out. Again, taking the view, enjoy it. You're right there on the bay, on the water. So
Jason and I were actually talking. We live down here. We don't want to tell anybody about it.
Yeah, it's
because it was like our spot. We could go down there. Like when everybody's on the beaches, we could sneak around the back way. Go to On the Rocks and get some appetizers or watch the concert, but or the fireworks.
Yeah, the fireworks are awesome. They're awesome.
And it's more than just a boat. And I mean, they should pay me for the slogan. More than a boat to take it to the outlets. It's more than a boat to bring it for the weekend. Paul, one of our friends here, worked there for years, and they do a really, really good job of bringing in local craft beer and regional craft beer. Great bar food. And it's a place unlike any other that you can sit there and look at the Delaware Bay, see a beautiful sunset while you're there. Mm-hmm. Water's warm. There's dolphins running around.
Yeah, we get dolphins. We get whale sightings occasionally. So, and that's actually cool. We're getting around to the time where you can actually see the sunsets from the Sunset Lounge, aptly named, when we get to that. So, this is starting at 6:30. Our event with Slack Tide on the 28th. We're just on that edge when that tends to be viewable. So if you get there a little bit early, it is honestly, it's one of the best spots to see a sunset.
I would get there early.
It is amazing. It's an amazing place to see the sunset.
It is. We got there early for the dinner. I guess your dinner was one of the first time we ever went there, and we were just blown away by that sunset. It was amazing.
It's awesome.
So the beer dinner's on February 28th. The tickets are $66. So I'm a business guy, so I start thinking $66 for what you're getting. It is a steal, people. The tickets will sell out for this, so get there and get them. I mean, the tickets do sell out, Gusto. I mean, it's a really, really good dinner for the price point that they're getting. I mean, Tom, how many of these we go to? I mean, the last beer dinner we had was $100.
Right. And for this, and I tell people, if you want to step out of your comfort zone, this is the place to do it. Because you're going to get great food, great beer, and taste things you've never tasted before.
And for everybody's just getting into craft beer and you don't know, I mean, some of the things that are challenging, and this, is to pair hops with stuff.
Sure.
And, to not screw up your palate and, and we have these haze boys who love these things, these big things. But to be able to, as a new craft beer drinker, this is the perfect way to learn how to adjust your palate to food. What goes with what. I love IPAs, I love stouts, I love everything, but if I'm going to drink an IPA with the wrong thing, I might as well be eating a bag of Cheez-Its.
Right.
And I think this is a good way for people to learn. And Tom has taught me a lot because Tom does this, and we've done plenty of food pairings.
And one of the unique things that craft beer has that sometimes gets unnoticed or is a little bit underrated is, in a lot of ways, you can treat beer like you would treat wine. So you talk about wine pairings and people pair wine with food the same way. It's exactly the same way with beer. And a lot of the characteristics, especially if you're getting into barrel-aged beers or sours or even Belgians to a certain extent, where they have a unique flavor or a unique profile, it really melds well with the food. And it's something that a lot of people go, oh, you go to a wine dinner, it's going to be paired. Beer pairings are just, I agree with you sometimes.
I agree too.
There's so much more you can do. I mean,
There's definitely a broader palette when it comes to beer than there is with wine. I mean, you either have red wine, rosé, white wine. Beer is a pretty broad canvas to work with.
As we just look over here, what we have here, you have your traditional pale ale, then you have a milk stout. And
That's my favorite beer going, by the way. I love that beer.
if Mikey's watching, he's jumping up and down.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, a milk stout is?
A milk stout is a traditional stout that's brewed with lactose. So the lactose gives it a creaminess. The milk sugar adds a richness to the beer. And then in Manatee Milk's case, it's actually racked on coffee, and it really... coffee and vanilla, some vanilla, and it really brings out the flavor of the like it almost tastes like you're drinking a coffee with cream.
It is. It's like one of those things when I say this is beer to people. Well, that's not beer. People that think of beer, they think of a can of Budweiser, what their dad had in the refrigerator.
And it's another award winner.
And, I know, another award winner. And then we have the sour ales. So that was something that kind of went crazy when you first did them. I mean, sours are a big thing. And I can remember watching the bar, there was a bevy of glasses filled with red liquid.
Yes. Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about how a sour is.
So our sour is a kettle sour. So there's barrel-aged sours, there's open fermented sours, which true sour aficionados really get into those kind of sours. And when they're naturally fermented, they're open fermented, so they take on yeast from within the air and everything. Ours is a kettle sour, and the reason for that is we don't have a large enough system or dedicated fermenters that we can do sours in all the time. So what we do is we actually sour our beer in the kettle. It's the same base beer for each one of the haywires, but the fruit is different every time. So the first one we released last year was a 3-berry blend. It was boysenberries, blueberries, and blackberries. And then we did one with, I'm going to forget exactly what it was, mangoes and strawberries. That was it. And then we did this one, and we did that was it for the 3 haywires. And then we also had a Margarita Goza, but that's not the same. That's a totally different beer in and of itself. But the haywire series, we do a lot of different fruits. But when we test marketed that, or when we started doing our pilot batches, we had other fruit blends that we used. We may bring some of those back, but the 3 that we selected to run this year as production were the 3 most popular that were.
And this is kind of like, and this is going to sound sexist, but it's not. If you're a guy or you're a girl and your wife does not drink beer, this is kind of like the midway to moving a wine drinker, sort of, into the beer territory because, we were talking a story last week. A guy's wife would never come with him. He brought a 4-pack of that home. She's here with him every time now because of that.
It's true.
So sour is something a little bit different. Then you have your live well. We talked about your Bellbuoy, and on the end is one of your other flagships, Angry Osprey.
Angry Osprey is my favorite beer. My wife's from California. I spent 5 years of my life out there, and I got totally immersed not only in the wine out there, but also in the beer. And a West Coast IPA to me is like the bee's knees. A lot of people look at me like, oh, West Coast knew it. I love West Coast IPAs, always have.
That's what started it all.
And that's our sort of homage to the West Coast IPA. And it's a really good beer. It's easy drinking. And it is. You ask my brother, you can ask anybody. It is my favorite. I go to it all the time. So.
And it hits all the marks. It's got the bitterness. It's got the aroma. It's got the great finish, great mouthfeel. It's a very well made beer. Yeah, it's a very well made beer. So what we're talking about here is, guys, if you haven't been to one of these beer dinners, and you're one of those people who doesn't want to go anywhere in the summer, this is our time. And if you're not from down here, it's your time to drive down here to see what the ferry has to offer.
Spend the weekend.
Spend the weekend.
Go to the hotel on the cheap.
Go to Congress Hall. Do something that you can't do in the summer.
Yep, absolutely.
So the beer dinner is on February 28th. It is $66 a ticket, which honestly, it is a absolute steal for something like this. There's some tickets left.
Yep, we've got a few, not too many. So if you're thinking about it, get on it.
Pull the trigger and go down.
You
you won't be disappointed. I mean, we can get on here and do testimonials for some, a lot of things, but honestly, this is really, really one of the nicer things that goes on anywhere, winter, summer, fall, and experience the ferry. Make your plans to come down and visit South Jersey and see the Cape May Lewes Ferry and see what they have going on down there. Come a little early, have a cocktail. You're going to have an hour and a half drive across the water to figure that part of it out, and see the fireworks, see the concerts. And on your way down here, stop here off of Route 83 to Slack Tide Brewing Company. And in the next couple weeks, you'll see their newly remodeled tasting room. I can't wait to see what it looks like.
It's going to be cool. It's going to be cool.
See that and pick up some takeout. They have it here and ask for it in your local stores. The best way for you to get your favorite beer is to ask for it. If the people who own it don't know you want it, they're not going to get it. And maybe it's time they move that Michelob Light tap to something else. So do that. And I want to thank Andrew for coming in here at Slack Tide tonight.
Really appreciate it.
Jason, as always, it's always a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for having me anytime.
It's always easy when Jason's here. And for me and Tom, make sure you go to sjbeerscene.com and check out all the latest news that's going on. We have an article going up about the new farm truck brewing that's going on up there in Medford, right on Main Street.
Cool.
They should be opening in the spring. That'll be going tomorrow. And we just released a podcast with one of the competitors with Cape May Brewing Company that Vic and Richard do the Vic's Basement podcast. Check that up. I want to make a little announcement here. We have a podcast that'll be in development that we're going to be releasing sometime in March with our friend Kristen Wilson from 8 and Sand and Aaron Taylor from Bonesaw. It is called Beer Chick. No, I'm sorry. I'm already messing it up. It is Brew Lady Group Chat, which it's derived from a chat that they have of all the ladies and women in brewing, and they want to talk about it. And they're going to come on. We're going to start taping those episodes, so look for that up on the site very, very soon. They're very cool. These girls know what's up. They could school us in some beer, and they do a really, really good job. So check out the announcement of that. We should see that sometime mid-March.
One other thing we got coming up, I did an article about Gusto Mud Hen doing their collaboration. They're going to have a Kick the Keg on Leap Day, the 29th, the day after the beer dinner, at 7 o'clock at Mud Hen Brewing. So look for that article.
Cool.
Probably,
It's going to be early next week.
Early next week.
So we're taping this live, obviously. The other thing, one of our community things that we really believe in is the turtle rescue. And we want you guys to go to the website. We are pairing with the Turtle Rescue. And they have lots of programs there to adopt. It's Sea Turtle Rescue out of West Orange. They work all up and down the coast. They're locals. They moved up there because that's where their space was. Check them out. Go to the links on our website. They rescue sea turtles, and it's a labor of love, people. And they depend on our donations. They depend on your support. They have a sea turtle soiree coming up on March 22nd. If you can get tickets, go do that. But you can adopt a turtle. Wouldn't you like to adopt a sea turtle? How cool would that be? Adopt a sea turtle.
Do we have to name it?
I think they're already named.
I bet you name it Tom.
Crush.
Crush?
From Finding Nemo.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
So check out our friends at Sea Turtle Rescue and give them a look, and whatever you can do to help them out. They're doing they're really doing a service. I mean, it is a very specialized thing, and they could use your support. And I want to thank you guys again. Have a great night. Thanks for tuning in. If you missed the whole thing, it'll be up on YouTube tomorrow. Cheers.
Cheers.
Take care.